So I realised when I was looking at my notes for this this evening again that I don't really know what myth is, and I don't really know what the differences are between myth and archetype. I think I'm a little bit clearer on symbol, the language of symbol, but I'm probably going to use them interchangeably. So if you do have a clear sense of what they mean, please forgive me, because they'll all be slightly just feeding into each other. So what I do get from a sense of myth or living in that way is a sense of living a bit more deeply, a sense of touching into something that's beyond my ordinary everyday life. Myth is something that touches into sense of meaning for me. It's broader and deeper than the material level of things. So often it might come up, I mean, as we've seen in previous weeks, in terms of dreams or imagination, different colors, shapes, forms, symbols. So I think myth is just an invitation to step out of that more sort of prosaic level of living and into something that's is more akin to the imagination, the imaginal realm, natural realm. Less about our habits of being. So one of the myths in Buddhist terms is the myth of the journey. There are quite a few different stories and parables in the Buddha's life around the return journey, but the myth of a journey. Also, well, I guess we've got other journeys like the Holy Grail, that type of mythic journey outside Buddhist tradition. So we've got the inner and outer journey. You've got often a physical journey in these mythic journeys that's accompanied by this inner journey. And there's some relationship often between the two. But the inner journey is lived on a different level. So we're going to be journeying using this imagery of the Mastercurrent, of a current that flows through our lives. So it's going to be a journey that takes us into different parts of our lives. Has its roots in our early lives, but then actually can take us through the present into an unimagined future. Because I think what myth does is it opens out possibilities. It opens out a sense of potential and where the Mastercurrent might take us, where our life might take us, if we can tap into what's of meaning and significance. It might be a Mastercurrent of creativity or a current of faith and confidence in our lives. So I'm seeing it in relation to practice, in relation to our spiritual life, but in a very broad way, that in a way looks at the roots of some of those perhaps the values that we now hold dear. Maybe the signs of those values were present much earlier in our life. Sometimes I think about it as a spiritual life force. So this force that in a way perhaps didn't start when we met the Dharma, but there were clues. There were clues much earlier on in the sorts of things that we held dear, perhaps even as children. So one of the things I might ask you to think about in the meditation or to reflect on is some of the, so I'll give you a heads up, some of the figures maybe from your childhood that in a way held some of these values. It might have been, depending on your generation, it might be Bobby Moore, captain of the England football team. It might be Muhammad Ali, it might be Bob Geldof. It might be more fictional characters like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In a way, they all hold certain values that on the surface, okay, you've got a man with strong legs playing football who did very well, but there's a sense of perhaps the myth of that figure. And I think particularly when we're children, we relate really strongly to qualities and values without perhaps necessarily being very conscious that that's what we're doing. So another way I think of this master current is like the call of the heart, as something that calls us in our life, that we can touch into, and maybe we lose touch for quite extended periods of time, but there might be something that dips us back into it. Being in a particular place in nature, a particular poem or piece of writing. Many different ways we can find that slipstream of the current and retouch those values. I'm going to give you a couple of little examples. So one is a friend of mine. I don't know if they're around much these days. She used to take bark flower remedies. They're still around, aren't they? And she took a remedy for people who think they've got a big contribution to make to the world, but they don't know what it is. So there's a remedy, isn't this fantastic? There's a remedy that you can take. I think maybe you have to go to a special bark flower person. I don't think it's one that you can get from the herbarium. I think you have to, have it in a way done a bit in relation to a conversation with somebody. But this was what she ended up with, this particular remedy. And she took it for a while. And then she stopped and she forgot about it. And quite a while later, she found it. She found it somewhere, and she realized that she didn't need to take it. Actually, what she was taking had become sort of part of her. She felt she was able to live out that contribution to the world in a way that, was very sort of satisfying for her. She'd connected with her own current of this spiritual life energy. So the master current lives through our lives and takes expression in unique and individual ways. Each of us will resonate with different sort of currents, different little eddies and streams. So one of the myths that I think has been very important in my life is, which I think is a very common one. In fact, I think Akasha Raja mentioned it the first evening, is the myth of freedom. And when I was in my early 20s, I did quite a lot of skydiving. I jumped from aeroplanes on a regular basis. And this was definitely about that sense of freedom. It was also, actually, when I did it, it was about beauty as well. But there was a very strong sense of freedom from limitations in that 60 seconds or so when I wasn't sort of under the usual laws of, well, I was under the laws of gravity, but I was in a slightly different way through not being on the ground. Yeah, I've got a little quote here, which I love. It's by, apparently by Socrates. I don't know if it really is by Socrates. It says, "We enter the mythical when we enter the realm of risk, and myth is the enchantment we generate within ourselves at such moments." So I'll say that again. We enter the mythical when we enter the realm of risk, and myth is the enchantment we generate within ourselves at such moments. So there was this feeling of enchantment with the skydiving. But I think in many ways we can, in a way, get to the edge of what we know. And then that becomes that realm of risk when we take a step, even a very small step into the unknown, maybe a little risk in communication. And sometimes what's generated can be just really memorable and special. So I'm going to see if we can generate some enchantment this evening. So I think we can also see I'll just give that to you in case it's, in case someone wants to get in. Okay. I think we can see the Mastercurrent as a stream for good, if you like, a stream, a current of goodness in our lives. This connects with what I was saying, it touches on our values of what's most precious or most important to us. So it's a current that moves us towards, well, it moves us towards embodying our potential and moves us towards what's most important and of value to us. So in the meditation itself, it's definitely an opportunity to give the rational mind a bit of a break. You can just see if you can let go into it, just play with what comes up. You might not relate to some of the things I say, and others, you might find that they do take you more into your own inner world, your own inner imagination, and you can play with that. In ancient Indian culture, apparently there's no difference, I think, in the language, no fast and hard distinctions between things like seeing, you see something literally, but if you visualize or you imagine or you dream it, there's the same sense of reality or validity to all those different ways. So we can see the meditation or the imagination is a bit like that. There's just a sense of knowing. And anything I say is just a suggestion, so you just let your mind flow where it wants to flow. And anything that happens on your journey has some sort of significance, some validity. You just hold lightly to that. So there's going to be a few different stages. We'll start with metta. And then there'll be a stage of the past, a stage of the present, and a stage of the future. And just to acknowledge that sometimes for some of us, going into the past can be stirring. It's something that has sort of unwelcome resonances sometimes. So give yourself permission to adapt what I'm saying, though I'm definitely going to be taking us into places that hopefully are connecting with, if you like, those early beginnings of that stream of creativity and confidence and trust in our own goodness, our own values. Okay, so if you'd like to just set yourself up, just however you want to be sitting, relaxing. Don't feel you have to look at the screen. Or that you have to be looked at on the screen if you want to turn your video off. So perhaps just taking a breath or two, just with the out breath, just letting the weight draw through your body, letting the weight settle you in yourself on the cushion or the chair. Letting that happen quite naturally. And letting the breath and settling in your body just connect you a little bit more with how you are right now. And that connecting can happen in a very natural, open way. And that settling has the quality of metta, quality of allowing, accepting whatever's there in our experience right now. And connecting with any sense of appreciation for yourself, for anything in your life that you value, that you enjoy. It might be the nature around you, the night sky above you, the seat that you're sitting on. And with metta, it's always good to remember that we never start from nothing. There's an accumulation in our lives of kindness, kind acts, kind thoughts. Appreciative times we've spoken of others to others. So we have the weight of our previous acts of kindness, previous practice of metta, and the weight of our intention to encourage and cultivate metta, even when it feels as if nothing is happening. That intention has borne fruit in the past and will do again. And now, in your imagination, through in any way that you'd like to, reaching back into your early life. Travel back in any way that you'd like to you as a child, perhaps between about 5 and 10 years of age. But really, wherever you settle. You might travel back through memories of photographs. You might time travel. Through your life history. And connecting with the positive roots of your young self. Connecting with the positive roots of your physical and emotional landscape. Your innocence, your cheekiness, your cleverness. Whatever it was. And keeping a connection with self-metta, connecting with our early motivations and aspirations. Just letting images and feelings come and go. Connecting with any dreaming, imagining from that time, from those fragments of another world. So you might let images come to mind about your childhood heroes or heroines. What was it about the mutant ninja turtles, or Olga Korbut, or whoever it was, real or fictional? What fascinated you? Who were the characters in books that you most resonated with? Or perhaps connecting with your aspirations. Why was it so important to you to want to be a doctor or a trapeze artist or an astronaut at age 8? It's connecting with metta for this younger self, full of life, open to the world. Was there someone who was there for you, who responded to those aspirations? Someone real or someone imaginary, who you felt understood by? Teacher, family member. Do you remember when you first had a sense of the injustice of the world and wanted to do something about that? You're looking for our first dips into the Mastercurrent. Feel it wet your toes. What made you happy? Time alone, time with friends, special place, pet. In an imaginary world. And trust whatever comes in your mind as somehow connected with your spiritual vision and motivation. That there's some continuity of aspiration through time. Having connected with those early aspirations and inspirations, currents of confidence or idealism in our being, currents of creativity, just letting yourself come in your mind into the present. Bridge the gap between past and present, perhaps imagining some sort of bridge, stepping over a body of water. It might be a stone bridge or a swing bridge, wooden bridge. And the body of water representing this mythic current in your life. It might be a stream, a big river, or an estuary, or perhaps stepping stones going across water. And perhaps the master current has swollen over the years. Or perhaps it's had its periods of going underground, almost invisible, but resurfacing. But let's say it's large enough in some way to sustain a boat or a craft that can carry you. So before you step into this boat, two things. The first is just to take stock where you feel the master current most strongly in your life, in the present. Where do you feel that sense of energy, joy, creativity? Where do you feel like you're most wholehearted? Do you have a sense that myth and imagination are alive in you, in your life at present? And the second thing to prepare for your journey is to take stock of all the things in your boat. Your boat is loaded up, but there may be some things that you don't need anymore. There might be things that are no longer necessary, and you can shed that weight. But you also want to take something on the boat that represents you as you are right now, the journey as you've reached it right now. Something that represents the non-rational. Might be a flower or a rock. A line from a song. And with it, you step into the boat and let the current take you towards your future. So you're in the current in your boat, open to whatever might happen, because the future's always unknown, an element of uncertainty, that enchantment of risk. So look around you, look down at the water, look at the landscape around you. The water might be wild and turbulent over rapids and rocks. It might be deeply still, smooth, grey or blue, Just connecting with the energy of your journey. Guided by the current. So you're reaching your journey's end. It might not be the final goal, but it's as far as you're going today. Where are you? Perhaps in a natural inlet, or in the midst of the open sea. Or in an underground watery cave. It might be a place of beauty, and it might not. It might have a raw quality to it, a more wabi-sabi, imperfectly perfect. You might be in the sewers, or the local reservoir. As you come to step out of your boat, your craft that's carried you on the current, there's a being waiting for you, waiting to meet you. Only you know who they are. And they hold you in their gaze. What is best in you is reflected in their eyes, in the love in their eyes. And you take each other in. Metta, looking at metta. They have a gift for you to help you keep faith with what's true in you. Keep faith with your potential, your creativity. You receive the gift. You say goodbye. And you take the journey back to the present moment, to your present moment experience. Traveling by water or land or air, out of time. And in the present moment with your present moment experience. Just spending a few minutes just sitting.